GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that keeps up with AI so you understand why everyone is talking about DeepSeek. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton. The markets are red. Everything is crashing. What is going on? Well, it's because of a small AI company in China, which might have changed the world, or at least the future of AI over the weekend. We're going to break that down. Last week, might have been the most bullish week ever in crypto. Trump signed his first crypto executive order. Bullish vibes all around, and I'm not really sure the market really cared, or maybe it was already priced in. We're going to talk about that more. So we're going to talk about what Trump said in the executive order and what it means long term, because that's what matters most. Last Friday, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates. Nobody really cared. What's going on in the markets? It's so hard to understand what matters and what doesn't matter anymore. Also, Trump is demanding that the Fed lower interest rates this Wednesday. We're going to talk what to expect this week and so much more with our good friend Lark Davis, legendary crypto investor, educator, and tweeter. Before we jump in here from Lark, this Wednesday, we've got an AMA happening in the Milk Road Pro Discord with our research team. Mark it on your calendar, Jan 29th at 11 a.m. Now, this event is for pro members only. If you're not pro and you want to join, click the link in the show notes, go pro today. Really, this is your opportunity to get in front of our pro team, ask some questions, get investment advice straight from the guys who spend all day, every day, literally all their hours on investing in crypto. Before we hear from Lark, let's just take a moment to hear from our sponsors who make the show possible. Meet Odos, the DeFi aggregator that makes your token swap smarter, faster, and a whole lot easier. Tired of trading like it's 2019? Odos finds the best prices for your swaps across 900 liquidity sources and 14 blockchains, so you always get more bang for your crypto buck. Whether you're swapping, setting a limit order, or just avoiding gas fees like the plague, Odos has you covered. It's like having a genius trader in your pocket, minus the coffee addiction. Join 3 million wallets already using Odos to power over 6 billion in monthly trades. Start making smarter swaps today at milkroad.com/Odos. Lark, welcome back to the show.
What's up? It's been a crazy week.
Oh my gosh. The weeks just are getting crazier and crazier right now. It's just getting started. That's like I can't even wait for what's to come. Okay, let's talk about DeepSeek R1. What the hell is DeepSeek R1? What has happened is basically if you fell asleep last week and woke up today when you're listening to this episode, you missed that about $1 trillion got wiped out of the NASDAQ in a day. And most of that came from one stock, which is NVIDIA, which just got absolutely smashed. It set a record, the biggest drop ever, $420 billion market cap drop in one day, biggest ever. You know who holds second place in that stat, by the way? NVIDIA actually previously also had the biggest drop ever. So maybe it trades more like a crypto stock, maybe. Total crypto market also went down big time. All markets were affected by this. And it's all because of this small 200-person team in China that has built a better AI model than ChatGPT for a fraction of the cost. Lark, what is going on here?
This is a crazy story. And by the way, it's interesting that the crypto markets are almost completely responsive to what NVIDIA is doing. Of course, the NVIDIA thing, it creates market-wide panic and fear. But hey, here's a fun little fact for everybody. Yesterday, Meta, Facebook, hit a new all-time high. Why aren't we correlating with that? Why do we only correlate with NVIDIA when it's going down? Of course, if Meta goes down, we'll correlate with that then, obviously. But crypto markets. Anyway, it's a crazy story about DeepSeek because if everything is as they present it, it really calls into question the valuation of US tech. That's really what it comes down to. It's saying that US tech is way overvalued, that these companies that are worth trillions of dollars should not be worth trillions of dollars. Of course, a lot of the big tech companies in the USA are not strictly AI companies. Obviously, OpenAI is a strictly AI company, but they're not a publicly traded company yet. NVIDIA, therefore, becomes one of the biggest proxies for risk according to what's going on in the AI market because they're so linked with their GPUs to AI. That's why Meta was able to hit a new all-time high because Meta's price does not depend solely on AI, and Google and Apple and Amazon do not depend solely on AI. Obviously, it's an important part of their companies, but it's not the be-all, end-all for their companies. So if DeepSeek really did do what they did with $6 million, it's a game-changing moment for AI. It's very exciting. It means everything's getting better and faster with AI, even crazier and faster than we thought. And here's the thing. You have to realize the simple fact that China is going to massively eat America's lunch when it comes to tech over the next few decades, because there are more research papers being released, like dramatically more research papers coming out of China than out of the US to a multiple degree. There are more people in STEM than in the United States. Like it's just huge numbers of and huge investment in science and technology and engineering and mathematics in China. And they're going to continue that lead for a long time. So Chinese tech is going to continue to develop at a massive speed. Okay. So we have to acknowledge that reality. It's not to say that the United States is out of the game. I mean, Trump just announced $500 billion for AI investments the other day, okay? Backed by SoftBank and all these other top players. So this is massive. And to an extent, this could have even been some kind of response to that. Is it a coincidence that it only came out a few days after America announces half a
Mm.
trillion dollar investment in AI? Probably not. There's also a lot of nuance to this story. Elon Musk, for example, saying that he doesn't really believe that they were able to do this without a bunch of
Mhm.
NVIDIA GPUs, which is ironic because if they do have, there are I can't remember the name of the hedge fund, but there was a hedge fund guy being interviewed on NBC or something like that, and he said that, well, basically they have about 50,000 H100 NVIDIA GPUs, and that's how they did what they did. They didn't just magically do it with, a laptop computer or something like that, or, second generation
And,
NVIDIA chips from years ago, basically.
let's be clear. Okay, so what DeepSeek is saying. Let me just pull up a tweet here just to give like the DeepSeek side of the story, because yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuance here, and there's a lot of naturally U.S. versus China games happening here, and speculation what's actually at play. But okay, DeepSeek is saying they built this in 2 months, which if these things are true, it's absolutely insane, and it makes sense that it's changing the future of AI and technology. But they're saying built it in 2 months. They're saying cost them 5.5 million to train versus OpenAI's cost 100 million plus. APIs are 95% cheaper. 200-person team, fully open source. So they did fully open source it, which in my mind somewhat proves some of these. Actually, I guess it doesn't really prove any of these above things because it could be open. The fact that it's open source, you can't prove how long it took or how much it cost to make it. But basically, if this is true, then Nvidia is worth a lot less. Like that's kind of the cold hard facts. Or at least in the maybe not in the long term, but certainly feels like it could be that way because you could run these models on a cell phone or a much different device than a $40,000 Nvidia device that that you need in order to train these models right now.
I would say that at least they probably would have used one generation back of NVIDIA chips. So I think it was the M800s or the A800s, whatever the previous titles were. So those were before the export controls, right? Obviously, the
Mhm.
new ones are under export controls, and they can't say if they have those new M100 or the H100s. So they may have had those, or they may have just had one generation back chips. So still, ironically, kind of bullish for NVIDIA because they're probably using NVIDIA chips either way, just whether newer or older generation it comes down to. But also, can we just take a second to acknowledge the fact like that we are going to need so much GPU compute in the future. If we are rushing towards this future of spatial robotics, humanoid robots, self-driving cars, all this kind of stuff, you think we're not going to need GPUs, that NVIDIA is
Yeah.
suddenly not going to have any business? No, of course not. Of course not. But this is a typical market overreaction to something. Something happens, everybody loses their minds. The Nasdaq futures are before that E futures before the markets actually open up. They open up about 10, 12 hours before the actual markets open. Those things start crashing because it's Sunday night and market panic spreading. Everyone's had, 36 hours since the market's been open, so everyone's losing their minds. And it's typical overreaction that you see in the markets. And it's interesting to see crypto correlate so much with essentially one very small story. But think about the impact here. It is definitely an AI war, let's say, an arms race in AI
Mhm.
right now between the US and China. And actually, everybody benefits from this because it means AI is going to get a lot better a lot quicker, which is very, very exciting. But what a shot to fire across the bow, whether or not there's everything about the story is completely true or not. The impact of a story like that, think about that for whatever it costs to train DeepSeek, China was able to erase $1 trillion in US stock market valuations in one day,
It's insane.
right? It is insane.
It's insane. And I think you're right. Like the outcome of this story is just that it's better for us. It's better for the consumer, right? Like, yeah, sure. Oh, like we all feel it. Maybe you wake up, you look at your portfolio, you're down. Okay, yeah, that sucks. But like that's gonna bounce back. That's that it was, you if you had a little bit of white powder, buy the dip, right? Here's your opportunity. But I think that the fact that where this leads to is is that we might just get, well, I mean, free AI, right? Like DeepSeek is free.
Mhm.
ChatGPT equivalent of this, their reasoning model is $200 a month, right? Like, great, we all get free AI and it evolves faster. Thank you, DeepSeek. I'm happy.
You gotta keep in mind too is that, if something's free, it always comes with a cost, right? So, I mean, there's the strategic advantage here of undermining US tech companies and US tech company profitability. But there's also the question of it was the most popular downloaded app in the United States in the last week. So all that data, where's all that data go? Straight back
right,
over to
right
China.
after they banned chip TikTok, right? Like
Mhm.
it's
Super valuable, all that data. You cannot understate how important the data is. The data is worth a tremendous amount of money. So if they're giving it away for free, they're harvesting the heck out of your data, man, which everybody else does anyway. But just to keep it in perspective here.
so you think you sort of lean towards the and we won't go too much deeper on this topic. We'll talk about Trump's executive orders and crypto markets more, but this is just too good of a story to not talk about it, especially with its effect on all markets. But you think you're clearly very skeptical about the way they're portraying the story. You think more likely because if you believe their side of the story, then it's it's not just the massive companies and Fang or the Magnificent Seven that are going to compete to own AI. It feels like it's more like, hey, wow, anybody can get into the game now. And it's going to be a very different path than I think we all thought, which was like this, you had to be a heavily funded $100 million plus company in order to do this. Now it's like, oh no, like we can, a lot of people. So I kind of, the rosy side of me is like, oh, great. This like the little guy's going to win on the AI side too, not just the crypto side.
Yeah, I'm definitely skeptical of the story to an extent, right? But if it is true, great, good for everybody. It's good for everybody. If it's not true, still good for everybody because it creates more of an arms race, essentially. Arms race made out the right, a highly competitive environment, let's say, for AI, where US companies are now going to double down on their efforts. So, and Chinese companies will, and Indian companies will, and everybody's gonna except the EU. They're just gonna do some stuff with bottle caps, But everybody else is gonna do AI.
I think arms race is appropriate, by the way. I do think it is an arms race. Okay, let's talk
Shout out
about
to all the Europeans in the audience, by the way. We love you guys.
Okay, let's talk about Trump's executive orders because this was big and very exciting news. Let me pull it up on screen here quickly. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Basically, he is going to set up a working group, and this might be why markets didn't respond the way that we all wanted to, is because he didn't say I'm starting a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to say that in executive order anyways, but he didn't give us that language. But at the same time, we did get Senator Loomis as the chief of the Senate subcommittee. We did get so many great things. So this came out on Friday. Uh, very, very, very bullish. Let me see if I can summarize quickly here. Okay, so going to basically wants to protect blockchain and innovation in the US, wants to promote dollar backed stablecoins, right? Specifically said opposed to central bank digital currencies, wants to give fair access to the banking system. Thank you, right? Create clear rules for innovation and evaluate the potential of a national digital stockpile. which I love that they're calling a stockpile now and not a strategic reserve.
Mm. That one word sent Bitcoin maximalists into a complete meltdown online because it's gone from being a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which would be a massive win for Bitcoin specifically, to a digital asset stockpile, which is, oh crap, they're going to put other stuff in there. It's not just Bitcoin. Then, of course, speculation runs wild. What other coins might be in there? We can see World Liberty Fi right now, which is Trump's DeFi protocol, buying wrapped Bitcoin, but also buying Ethereum. They've got some Tron in there. I guess Justin Sun's made a big investment into World Liberty Fi, so they got themselves some Tron as well, Chainlink, and a few other coins, Aave. So I don't know if we're gonna have so many altcoins in there necessarily, but I could see a digital asset stockpile that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, because XRP keeps stuff of money in Donald Trump's pockets. So why not? Yeah,
That's just
Bitcoin maximalists are gonna lose their minds, man.
it's just like the story just keeps on the what this is going to do to the hype and to a lot of these tokens over the next I mean basically so it's 180 days from Friday. So I believe that the date is everybody circle this in your calendar. July 23rd, 2025. On July 23rd, 2025, this working group has to submit their report to Donald Trump. Doesn't mean that that's the day that he's going to say, yeah, stockpile is on, but that report will have the plan of whether it's Bitcoin or XRP or what's going to be in the stockpile. And of course, that report also has to do a lot more. It's not just about the stockpile, it's also about how they're going to basically regulate digital assets and a framework to do so, and including stablecoins, of course. That's that's not all that happened. Also, did you see David Sachs' interview on
No, I
Fox?
have not.
This was so good. So David Sachs, who's Trump's crypto and AI czar, like his crypto guy, he went on Fox and he was specifically asked about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and he said, "We're evaluating. We haven't decided yet." Called it a stockpile. But the best is he was asked about Trump meme coin, and he flat out said, "I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a collectible." So everybody that holds Trump meme coin, no, you are investing in just a collectible that is apparently worth an insane market cap that makes zero sense. But anyways, so like, I mean, that shows the what happened last week with Trump is just the start of I can't even imagine where are we going to be 3 months, 6 months, a year from now in the progress that is about to unleash in America. Like the tailwinds are just enormous.
That statement kicks the door open because I saw somebody mention that. I didn't watch the interview, but they also said NFTs in that. So NFTs and meme coins are digital collectibles. So that means that every NFT that's been launched up to this point is not a security. Okay. So they're just digital collectibles. Okay. And everybody has to approach them as digital collectibles, highly volatile ones, but digital collectibles nevertheless. I mean, come on. It's just a dog with a picture, with a hat on it. Okay. That's it. That's all it is. Okay. And just look at it as that. And it's a nice framing for it, obviously, from a regulatory perspective, because it just opens up the door for Taylor Swift and Mr. Beast and all these people as well to do collectible coins for their fans, right?
Mhm.
And NFTs for their fans, which is going to happen more and more. Here's an interesting thought for you, though. If that submission is July 23rd, let's say it's going to take a couple months to hit the floor, a little while to get the vote on it, go back and forth on it. Whenever that final vote is, it's probably going to be right around the market top. Now, it's going to be, everyone's going to tell you the opposite. Everyone's going to tell you that when that happens, when they approve that bill, which they probably will, when they approve that bill, that's going to be the start of the super cycle, and that things are just going to go up forever from that point. Likely, though, there's going to be so much hype building into the vote, much like we saw when El Salvador legalized Bitcoin as legal tender. It was the new paradigm of money. It was a super cycle. We were only going to go up. What happened? The bear market started. Probably a similar situation with this, which gives us a nice lineup. I just, it's so fascinating, isn't it? There's always a catalyst. There's always a catalyst to
Always.
carry us through, isn't there? And
Always.
I've even been thinking, what the heck if with all this going on, what are the catalysts even going to be next cycle,
Mhm.
man? Like we're blasting them all out now. Like what are we going to have left with in the 2028 cycle? I don't know. We'll see. But I guess that's for later us to worry about. Right now, it's just get that cheddar, guys. Just mad stack it. Okay, get the money out of the market because it'll end at some point. Maybe
I
a Q4 around that vote, but it'll end at some point.
I really like this take on the timing. I hadn't really like backwards math that this could, you're right, like likely if the proposal is July, likely it's sometime in end of
October, November,
Q3,
yeah.
Q4, right? Is probably
Hmm.
when this would actually go to a vote. And
4 year
you're right.
cycle.
Okay, we're gonna clip this and play this again next fall and see if we can play it back. Okay, the other thing that happened was SAB 121 has been rescinded. Lark, can you explain to everybody who's listening and is like, what the fuck is SAB
Yeah,
121?
the TLDR is that basically banks in the United States can now custody crypto on your behalf. So that's pretty big. That means that Bank of America and all these players, Chase, whatever, they can now hold your Bitcoin for you. You can have a Bitcoin account with them and they can sell Bitcoin to you. That's massive for a variety of reasons because obviously the banking sector is huge. And for the ability for people to go from, well, I'm going to go have my savings account here. I'm going to throw a little bit of Bitcoin or whatever. Things get real crazy real quick. As I always say with any of these banking stories, the banking on ramps into crypto, and we're got so many of them now. It feels like we're running out of what the heck are we going to talk about in 2028, 2029. I have no idea, but we have so many on ramps coming. It's the tide that lifts all boats. The more money you can bring into the market and the easier that money can get into the market, the better it is for all the assets because it has the ability for those asset prices to go up exponentially because everybody who wants to FOMO in can FOMO in because they'll have such easy access to this. So this is a really good story for access for US banks. I just wanted to mention one other thing too about the stable coins because stable coins are not very sexy, but they are so wildly important to the cryptocurrency market. And you see, of course, the XRP guys getting much closer to Trump. So does that have an implication for RLUSD stablecoin? Perhaps. But what I've always said about US dollar stablecoins, which was why the Biden administration was so off base with everything they were doing. Let's just say it nicely today. Because if you want to extend globally the dominance of the US dollar, you back stablecoins 100%. You go all in on stablecoin regulation. And you push the US dollar stablecoin as the global standard for stablecoins. Instead of fighting it, you embrace it. And that'll extend the dominance of the dollar for decades ahead. Smart
Forever.
move. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's literally it is the savior to America's dominance as the global currency. Like it's
Mhm.
so obvious. Yeah, I completely
Trump
completely
gets it.
agree.
Trump,
Trump gets it.
somebody,
Trump gets
somebody
it.
sat down, talked to him, and said,
Yeah.
"This is going to extend the dollar dominance for decades." He said, "Yes, let's do
Yeah.
that."
Check. Check. You brought up Catalyst before. We've got I want to talk about Catalyst actually, because I've been thinking a lot about this. Like, what are the upcoming catalysts? We've got the Fed meeting this Wednesday. I'm not really sure the Fed is interest rates are a catalyst because people really care about them, but I'm not
Mhm.
really. I mean, if you look at the past year, like it doesn't really feel like the Fed was much of a catalyst. It was the recession that never happened was all that the
Yeah.
Fed gave us in the past year. So tell us your thoughts on this Wednesday's meeting, what you think might happen, and market impact and outlook. But then let's talk more broadly about other catalysts that you see.
It's interesting because the Fed may have done the near impossible, which is to pull off the soft landing. Now, there's only been 3 other examples in sort of modern history of the Fed actually pulling off a soft landing. So it's pretty rare. They usually get it wrong, but Papa Powell may have actually done it, which is crazy. So, yeah, I think this time we're probably not going to have any change on the rates. I know Donald Trump is putting political pressure on Jerome Powell to do that, but I don't think Jerome Powell gives a crap about that. Jerome Powell's kind of his own boss. He doesn't really respond to, you know, it is what it is, guys. The Federal Reserve's a funky entity. So Jerome Powell's probably not going to lower rates this time. When will he do it? Hard to say. Futures markets are probably looking at something later, like April or May, even for a lowering of the rates. But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, futures markets can change really, really fast when it comes to that. But futures markets right now basically saying it's a pause. We got to pause. No hike. Definitely no hike. There's absolutely no reason to hike right now. Core inflation came in cooler than expected. PPI came in cooler than expected. CPI came in that's consumer inflation that came in at expectation. PPI is the cost that producers pay. Okay, so these things are all looking good, so that's fine. There's definitely no reason to go with higher rate hikes. And the jobs markets, Good. People actually, it's interesting. I think it was Stanley Druckenmiller who said that they've been talking to all these big companies, and the level of optimism since Trump got elected has absolutely shot through the roof. And people are hiring again. People are going all in. People are getting really excited again about the markets and the future, and they're very optimistic for the business cycle. So that also gives the Fed no reason to do anything because everything's working right now, right? So they don't need to adjust anything. And here's the thing: you might think, well, the rates are too high right now. How can the prices of our assets go up? Look back in the 1990s. There was a similar situation. Rates went up, went down very little bit, went sideways for a while. That was right before the dot-com bust. Now, before everyone talks about the bust part of it, right? But from the time that the Fed paused rates essentially to the market top, there was a lot of money to be made. Okay. And that was about a year and a half of crazy money making times. So, might have a similar situation repeating on our hands right now. All the macro stuff is lining up for a good year for risk assets. Dollars weakening, bond markets under control. Heck, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates the other day, didn't even implode. The global economy did not implode because that mostly unwound back in August. Okay. And what didn't unwind in August when the Bank of Japan stepped back, because they stepped back from that initially, right? They said, our mistake, everybody, we're not going to raise interest rates, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. Market cooled off, and then a lot of the hedge funds and stuff that had that risk built up slowly unwound over the next few months. So you can see there was absolutely no market reaction this time to the Bank of Japan raising interest rates. So good vibes, guys. Good vibes. Macro vibes of 2025. Okay, we got lots of stuff lining up here.
Okay, so I'm with you, fully on board. A lot of people believe that Q1 and have been saying Q1 would be the big quarter of 2025, or at least that if we follow typical cycles, that we might hit a spring local top, like I don't know if it's March or if it's April or if it's May, like you've talked about that before, and then we would have the typical summer dip, and then we might come back for a big and blow off the top to end of the year. What's the short-term catalyst though? Like Trump's in office, he made his executive orders. As you said, Fed probably stays neutral this week. What's going to get us to the Bitcoin 150K that I think so many people have in their mind as like end of March? Like that's where I think we're going to be. Like what's going to take us there?
There's a whole bunch of unknown catalysts, sort of, let's say, known unknown catalysts that may be announced. What plays out with the repeal of the SAB 121, right? Will some banks start announcing stuff? That could get people excited. Will one of the Middle Eastern countries announce that they bought a bunch of Bitcoin? That would get people excited. There's a whole bunch of things. And of course, just the biggest thing, as always, is the price going up. And you can't fight the reality that every single week, Wall Street's buying a couple $billion worth of Bitcoin consistently. Look at the BlackRock numbers. They're absolutely insane. So they're continuing to gobble up Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin available continues to be dwindling, right? The available Bitcoin, right? They're buying way more than miners can produce. Michael Saylor's buying $1 billion every single week, right? And others are buying too. And so right now we have institutional money front running retail money, right? Retail's coming in some small waves around the Trump meme coin in late November and stuff like that. But retail largely has not returned to the market. They will, because guess what? The economy is good. People have jobs, job market's competitive, all these kind of things. No recession in sight. So people will come back and buy dog coins because they always do. Okay. And so when Bitcoin starts moving, as always, it is the shining light that brings all the moths into the flame. And yes, that's an accurate analogy because people are going to come back and buy the dog coins at the top. They're going to top blast dog coins, guys. It always happens. Okay.
You're all moths. No, I'm kidding.
If you're
I'm kidding.
listening now,
I
if you're listening now, you're not the moths. The moths are going to come
No,
later
no,
because the
exactly. I was gonna say,
retail. I mean, I know we are retail, right? But the
no.
vast majority of retail investors are not back in the market yet. Every indicator basically shows that. So we've had a little bits of interest here and there, but nothing definitive has stuck around yet. But they will. They will. The herd will arrive. They always do. And they arrive at the absolute worst time to top blast everything. But somebody's got to be exit liquidity, right? Somebody's got to be in the plane crash. It's going to be those guys.
It's just so hard to it's really just hard to wrap your head around the way crypto markets work because there's no other market that works like this, and there really has never been another market that's worked like this, because of just technology and this time of humanity. And it's when you sit here day to day, you think it's oh, it's never going to happen. Oh, when it's going down, it's over. Oh, when it's going up, it's on. But if you step back from it all and you just remove yourself from the day to day, while also continuing to listen to Milk Road and read our newsletter and listening to Lark on Twitter and all that, I'm kidding. Is you really do need to like, don't fuck it up right now, right? Like, don't overtrade it. Don't
Mhm.
make the mistake of like trying to get the worst case that every mistake that I think everyone makes is all of a sudden you try to get that. 10x isn't enough. Even 2x isn't enough. 3x. How many people have I said 2x or 3x? If I was like, you can 2 or 3x for the rest of the year, a lot of people, I think every crypto would, fuck you, man. Like, come on. I want way more than that, right? But like, what's worse is chasing that 10x, 50x, 100x and getting nothing.
Mhm. Which most people do.
Yeah.
Most people just get torn up in this market. And the last month has been a typical example of that. There's been some good trading opportunities, right? But overall, it's been a rough month, man. It's been a rough month because there's been such extremes of sentiment. Literally, the past 3 Mondays, it's been over. There's been something that happens that freaks everybody out going into the weekend, and it's over by Monday. It's over. The top is in. It's going to zero. Then by Thursday, Friday of each week, it's, oh my gosh, we're so back. New paradigm of money. It's been really, really tough trading these markets, especially for anybody in altcoins. I mean, my goodness gracious, my AI coin bags are just slaughtered beyond belief right now. I look at them and it's like, I'm just going to not even look at that for a while because they'll pop back. Most of them will pop back. I think there'll be AI is not going anywhere. It's such a big story. It's such a big part of crypto. These coins will continue to grow over time, and not all of them are going to be winners, of course, but you only need a couple to be winners to really, of course, outperform. But I also, for the guys who are out here chasing the bigger returns and scoff at a 2 or 3x, it depends on your risk, right? If you're just in Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum, you're the 2 to 3x guy. You understand that, you're probably happy with that. But if you're doing anything beyond that, I think it's reasonable to want more because you're taking such higher risk. You're not investing in the S&P 500 here, guys. You're investing in probably the most speculative, high risk assets in the world, realistically,
Mhm.
right? When you're investing in AI agents and NFTs and meme coins, these are the absolute extreme of the risk spectrum. So you should expect higher returns for taking such extreme risk. Problem is that most people don't get the higher returns because that is so risky, and most people do lose most of their money.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Lark, always a pleasure to get you on the show, my man. Thanks for the time today. Everybody listening in, as always, let us know what you want to hear more about. Do you guys want to hear more about the macro stuff? Do you guys want us to just talk about tokens? What do you want to hear more about? Let us know in the comments. And for every bot out there, please throw whatever AI or meme coin in the comments as well, because you guys just pump up the algorithm for me. So thanks so much for that. Lark, I know you probably get the same thing. Every time I like go into our YouTube, I'm like, what is this? What is this AI token? There's like 50 people talking about it. I'm like, is this legit? No, it's not. It's
No.
bots. Do not listen. If you're reading our comments, stay away from any bot that is commenting about some random meme coin or token. Stay safe out there, everybody. Sorry for rambling. It's late for me. Have a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.